Awaken Light Audio. Awaken your mind, ignite your light.
10 things you must work on every day to succeed in life. Small daily choices, massive lifelong change. What if success isn't something you achieve someday, but something you choose today? What if the greatest transformation of your life isn't found in big breakthroughs, but in quiet, invisible moments of self-mastery? And what if everything you've been chasing, clarity, confidence, peace, purpose, is already within reach, hidden inside the habits you repeat each day? Every day you wake up, life gives you a blank canvas, not a second-hand version of yesterday, not a borrowed dream from someone else, but a fresh, untouched space, waiting for you to decide what kind of life you're willing to create. And yet, most of us don't realize the power in that. We spend years searching for the right time, waiting for motivation, looking for shortcuts, hoping someone or something outside of us will shift our reality. But here's the quiet truth. No one told you. Your life is not changed by massive leaps, but by micro-choices. It's shaped not by the big events, but by the daily disciplines. You become the person you're meant to be, not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 unseen consistent actions. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to show up, fully, honestly, courageously. For the small improvements that compound over time. For the mindset shift, for the 15-minute focus, for the breath. Before the reaction, for the one promise you keep to yourself when no one's watching. This journey is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters with presence, with clarity, with intention. So, take a deep breath, let go of the pressure to be perfect, let go of the need to impress, let go of the lie that you need to beat someone else to succeed. You don't need to chase greatness. You need to return to the greatness already within you, one small choice at a time. This is not a list of rules. This is not a formula for hustle. This is a daily reawakening to your strength, your purpose, your power. And it begins here today. We begin a journey into 10 sacred commitments you must work on every single day. Not to become someone you're not, but to rise into everything you already are. Each chapter will guide you through a vital part of this process, not in theory, but in practice. You'll find yourself reflected in the stories. You'll feel challenged, encouraged, seen, and most of all, you'll be reminded. You don't need to wait to live a powerful life. You just need to start choosing one, again and again. Now, as we prepare to step into Chapter 1, I invite you to pause. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the person you're becoming, the calm in their presence, the clarity in their voice, the quiet power in their decisions, the deep joy in their purpose. That person is already inside you, waiting not for permission, but for your participation. So open the next page and begin building the version of you who chooses growth daily. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Master your attitude, the lens that shapes your life. Your attitude is not just how you feel, it's how you frame your entire reality. Success doesn't start with circumstances. It doesn't begin when things get easier, when people finally understand you, or when life magically aligns. It begins with your attitude. Your attitude is the lens through which you interpret everything. 2. People can face the exact same situation. One sees an opportunity, the other sees a dead end. One sees growth, the other sees defeat, and the only difference, their internal posture, their chosen attitude. Attitude is not just about positivity, it's about perspective. It's the quiet, inner decision to respond instead of react, to believe instead of fear, to rise instead of retreat, the hidden power of a small shift. Most people underestimate attitude because it's invisible. You can't touch it, you can't measure it, but you can absolutely feel it. And so can everyone around you. Ever walk into a room where someone's negativity sucks the air out like a vacuum, or meet a person whose presence uplifts you even without saying much? That's attitude. energy and motion. The truth is, your attitude precedes your words. It shapes your presence. It sets the emotional tone of your life when you choose a stronger attitude. You're not denying difficulty. You're deciding to meet it with inner strength. You're not pretending life is perfect. You're remembering that your power doesn't come from outside control. It comes from inner choice, from complaint to clarity. There was a man I once worked with, brilliant but chronically bitter. Every project came with complaints. Every team interaction was a battle. And despite his intelligence, he was constantly overlooked. One day I asked him, "What if you tried leading with a different attitude? Just for 1 week?" He scoffed, but reluctantly, he agreed. He began arriving with curiosity. Instead of criticism, he replaced sarcasm with sincerity. He started assuming good intent in others, instead of defaulting to mistrust. In 1 week, everything changed. People listened more, problems de-escalated, he found collaboration easier, and most surprisingly, he felt lighter. He said to me, "I never realized how much my attitude was exhausting me." It wasn't the people around him that shifted. It was the mirror he chose to see them through. He changed his lens, and the whole world looked different. Daily practice, the attitude reframe ritual each morning. Ask yourself, what emotion do I want to lead with today? Patience, hope, resilience. Where am I letting circumstances control my lens? What belief can I shift right now to choose a stronger attitude? Then write one sentence to reframe your energy, such as, "Today, I choose to meet challenges with calm, not chaos. I will lead with gratitude, not entitlement. I cannot control everything, but I can choose how I show up." Keep this sentence somewhere visible. Your phone lock screen, your desk, your mirror. Let it become your anchor throughout the day, because the more often you consciously reframe, the faster it becomes your default lens. Tell yourself, "My attitude is my power. I don't wait for life to be easy. I choose to be stronger." Now that you've begun adjusting the lens through which you see the world, it's time to master the next key that shapes your relationships, your influence, and your legacy. Your ability to communicate with clarity, empathy, and quiet confidence. Let's move into next chapter. Chapter 2. Communicate with clarity. Speak to be understood. Listen to connect. Your words don't just express your thoughts, they shape your world. Every relationship you hold, every opportunity you chase, every conflict you face, and every dream you try to bring to life is filtered through your ability to communicate. Communication isn't just a skill, it's a mirror of your self-awareness. It's the bridge between you and the world. And most importantly, it's a daily practice. You can't master communication once and be done. You grow into it, refine it, and most of all, you commit to improving it. One conversation at a time. The art of connection isn't about talking more. Most people think communication is about saying the right thing. But true connection, it begins in silence, in listening, in presence. Have you ever felt completely seen? Not because someone said something brilliant, but because they truly heard you? The best communicators aren't the loudest, they're the clearest. They speak less, but when they do, people lean in. Why? Because they listen first. They listen not to reply, but to understand. They don't interrupt. They don't assume. They don't hijack the moment to prove something. They create space for others to be real. And from that space, trust grows. Communication shapes your influence. A young woman once shared how her career had stalled. She was skilled, hardworking, and reliable, but her ideas often went unnoticed. In meetings, she struggled to assert herself at home. She often felt misunderstood. "Spoke," I asked her. "What would change if you started practicing clarity, not just confidence?" She began working on two things: asking more open-ended questions in conversations, replacing emotional reactivity with thoughtful pauses. The result? Her team started asking for her input. Her manager noticed her presence more. Her relationships deepened, and for the first time she said, "I'm not just being heard, I'm being felt." That's the shift, not louder, more intentional. Daily practice, the 2-to-1 communication rule. Each day, apply this simple ratio. Listen twice as much as you speak. Before speaking, pause and ask, am I seeking to understand or to be right? Will these words bring clarity or confusion? Can I say this with honesty and respect at the same time? And when you do speak, aim for simplicity with sincerity. You don't need fancy words, you need true ones. Start a sentence with, "What I hear you saying is, let me be clear about what I need right now. Can we explore this together rather than debate it?" Practice phrasing that opens the door, not shuts it, because real communication isn't about winning, it's about building bridges. Tell yourself, when I speak with clarity and listen with intention, I create connection, not just conversation. Now that you've tuned your voice and opened your ears, it's time to unlock the engine that turns dreams into momentum. Daily practice of self-discipline. Chapter 3. Build daily discipline, the silent engine behind your dreams. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you're capable of becoming. If there's one invisible thread that ties every successful person together, it's not talent, not luck, not charisma, it's discipline, the ability to show up, even when no one's watching. To keep going, especially when motivation fades, to do what matters, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't beg for applause. It doesn't look dramatic, but it's the foundation under everything that lasts. You can have the greatest vision in the world, but without discipline, it remains a fantasy. Discipline is what makes the vision real, the unseen battle between desire and commitment. We live in a world that praises passion, but passion without discipline is just noise. Desire gets you started. Discipline gets you finished. Have you ever promised yourself something and then broken it? You said you'd wake up early, but hit snooze. You planned write, read, train, but the day slipped by. You committed to a routine, but emotions took over. That moment, that small gap between intention and action, is where your future is decided. And every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you reinforce trust in your own voice. You tell your nervous system, I am someone who follows through. That's how discipline is built. Not in huge leaps, but in quiet, consistent integrity. The muscle that grows with use. Discipline is like strength training. The more you train it, the more it becomes automatic. What once felt hard becomes habitual. Years ago, I knew a man with endless potential, big ideas, infectious energy, but he struggled to finish anything. He'd start projects with fire and end with ashes, because he relied on momentum instead of method, on inspiration instead of structure. One day, he made a new rule. I'll do one hard thing daily, no matter how I feel. He started small, waking up early, working out for 15 minutes, journaling. Before bed, each act was a rep. Each rep built self-respect in 6 months. His life was unrecognizable, not because of a single transformation, but because of tiny consistencies done with devotion. Daily practice, the non-negotiable 15 PIC, one small but meaningful action that aligns with your values. And commit to it every single day for the next 15 days. It could be 10 minutes of focused work on your dream, a 15-minute walk, no matter the weather, a single page of journaling or reading. The key, no excuses, no explanations, just execution. This is not about perfection, it's about identity. When you show up consistently, you rewire your brain to believe, I'm the kind of person who does the thing, and that belief will carry you further than motivation ever could. Tell yourself, I don't wait for discipline. I create it, daily, consistently, quietly. Now that you've lit the engine of discipline, it's time to address what fuels your inner world, your mindset, the mental blueprint that either limits you or launches you. Chapter 4. Transform your mindset. Rewrite the story that drives you. Your life doesn't change when your circumstances shift. It changes when your perspective does. Your mindset isn't just what you think. It's how you think. It's the lens through which every emotion, decision, and challenge is filtered. And if you don't work on that lens daily, it becomes distorted by fear, doubt, and old narratives that were never even yours to begin with. You can have discipline, a good attitude, and powerful communication. But if your mindset still whispers, "You're not enough," or "You always fail," then no progress will ever feel safe or sustainable. Mindset is the quiet script that runs your entire life. Change the script, and everything else transforms. You are not your thoughts, but you are what you believe. We all carry beliefs we didn't choose. You're not smart enough. You're too late. People like you don't succeed. Where did they come from? A childhood moment? A careless comment? A past failure? But here's the truth. Just because a thought feels familiar doesn't mean it's true. Many of the thoughts in your mind are echoes, not facts. They're outdated code, running your present life based on your past pain. To transform your mindset, you must become conscious of your inner dialogue and learn to question it. Ask, is this thought helping me expand or contract? Would I say this to someone I love? What belief would serve me? Better right now. You can't stop every negative thought, but you can stop giving it the final word. Rewriting the mental narrative. I once worked with a man who had immense potential, but he was stuck. No matter what he tried, he always assumed failure was inevitable. We peeled back the layers, he admitted. I've always believed I'm not meant for success. Where did that belief come from? A failed business, a critical parent, a fear of trying again. But here's what changed him. He stopped believing the thought and started challenging it. He began journaling each day. What limiting belief showed up? What evidence proved it false? What? New belief could take its place. Over time, his mindset became more resilient, not because life got easier, but because his thoughts became more aligned with truth. And in that truth, he stopped sabotaging his own growth. Daily practice, the belief, rewire ritual. Each morning, write down one limiting belief that shows up in your mind. Example, I'm not disciplined enough. One empowering alternative example. I am learning to become more consistent every day. A short action to prove the new belief, true example. Today, I'll complete one focused task. Repeat this daily dot because beliefs don't change through theory. They change through repetition and action. Tell yourself, I am not defined by old beliefs. I write my own story. One thought, one choice, one day at a time. You've begun rewiring the thoughts that once held you back. Now it's time to take control of the one resource you'll never get back. Your time. Chapter 5. Manage your time like a leader. Prioritize what matters most. You don't need more hours. You need more clarity about what truly deserves your time. Time is the most democratic currency in the world. You, me, every billionaire, every artist, every dreamer, and every doubter. We all get the same 24 hours. But why do some people create lives of purpose, fulfillment, and impact, while others feel overwhelmed, behind, and constantly busy? It's not time that separates them, it's how they use it. Most people don't waste time intentionally, they just never stop to ask, is this really worth it? Every scroll, every yes said out of guilt, every hour given to meaningless distractions isn't just a loss of time, it's a loss of energy, a slow erosion of purpose. The truth is, if you don't own your time, someone else will dot the illusion of busyness. We glorify being busy. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. But being busy isn't the same as being effective. Running faster doesn't help if you're headed in the wrong direction. Think about this. How many tasks did you complete this week that truly mattered? How many hours were spent on what drains you instead of builds you? How many moments were lived in alignment versus in autopilot? If those questions sting, good. That's where clarity begins. Because success isn't found in doing more, it's found in doing what matters, with focus, intention, and boundaries. From chaos to clarity, I once worked with a client who was always busy yet deeply unfulfilled. He showed me his calendar, wall to wall, with meetings, obligations, errands, noise. I asked, "Where is you in this schedule?" He paused, and that pause changed everything. He began scheduling not just work, but reflection, not just tasks, but rest, not just meetings, but time for his most meaningful goals. Within months, he was achieving more by doing less, because his calendar finally aligned with his values. Time management isn't about squeezing more in, it's about making room for what matters most. Daily practice, the priority filter. Each morning, ask yourself 3 questions. What are the top 3 things that, if done today, would move my life forward? What am I doing out of habit or guilt that no longer serves me? Where can I trade urgency for importance? Then schedule your day accordingly, not reactively, but intentionally. Give your best hours to your best work. Say no, not with anger, but with clarity. Protect your time like your peace depends on it, because it does. Tell yourself, I don't fill my schedule. I focus my energy. My time is a mirror of what I truly value. You've begun honoring your time, not by doing more, but by doing what matters with more presence. Now, let's shift into the next powerful step, expanding your knowledge so your life grows as fast as your mind does. Chapter 6. Expand your knowledge, lifelong learning for a limitless life. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your understanding. The world is changing faster than ever. New ideas, new technologies, new opportunities, all emerging by the hour. And yet, the greatest threat to your future isn't change, it's stagnation. You don't fall behind because you're not smart enough. You fall behind when you stop learning. The most successful people aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who never stop growing. Knowledge is not just information. It's leverage, it's freedom, it's power. But only when applied with intention. The mind is a muscle. Use it or lose it. We often treat learning like something we leave behind after school. But real education, the kind that transforms your life, begins. When school ends, have you ever felt stuck in your career? Unsure of your next step? Afraid you're being left behind? It's not because you lack intelligence, it's because your inputs have gone stale. You're feeding your future with yesterday's thinking. And the solution? Feed your mind daily, deliberately. Every book you read, every podcast you listen to, every new concept you explore is a deposit into your future self. And here's the secret. You don't need to learn everything, you just need to keep learning something. Compound effect of daily learning. I once met a man who transformed his life with one simple rule. I read 10 pages a day, no exceptions. 10 pages, that's it. Not a whole book, not a weekend seminar, just 10 pages every day. For 3 years. That small habit gave him a new mindset, new skills, new income streams, and eventually, a new life. Because knowledge compounds. And when you feed your mind, you change the way you see the world. And that changes what becomes possible. Daily practice, the learning ritual, each day. Dedicate 15 to 30 minutes to intentional learning. Options include reading 10 pages of a nonfiction book, watching one educational video, listening to a podcast that expands your thinking, taking notes from a course you enrolled in. Then answer this question. How can I apply one thing I learned today? Knowledge without action is trivia, but knowledge in motion becomes transformation. Tell yourself, every day I learn. I sharpen my power. I don't wait for life to teach me. I choose to grow. You've begun nourishing your mind with wisdom and direction. Now it's time to address the area most people ignore, until it becomes a source of stress, anxiety, or limitation: your finances. Chapter 7. Take control of your finances. Build wealth with daily intentionality. It's not about how much you earn. It's about how consciously you manage what you keep. Money is not evil. Money is not magic. Money is a magnifier. It doesn't change who you are. It simply reveals and amplifies your habits, beliefs, and discipline. And yet, for many, money remains a source of fear, stress, or silence. We avoid it, misunderstand it, or feel unworthy of it. But here's the truth: no one teaches early enough. Wealth is not something you stumble into. It's something you build, with small decisions made daily over time. And if you don't manage money intentionally, you'll always feel like you're chasing it, even when you earn more. Awareness precedes prosperity. Most people don't have a money problem. They have an awareness problem. They don't know where their money goes. They spend emotionally. They postpone discipline until one day and then wonder why freedom never arrives. If you've ever looked at your bank balance and thought, where did it all go? You're not alone, but awareness is power. Because when you track, you can adjust. And when you adjust, you take control. And when you take control, money starts to work for you. From chaos to clarity, I once coached a woman who made a six-figure income but felt broke every month. She had no budget, no savings, no idea where her income disappeared to. She wasn't irresponsible. She was simply unconscious. Together, we created a simple plan. Track every dollar spent for 30 days. Set a basic budget with freedom built in. Automate a small weekly transfer to savings. After 3 months, her anxiety around money dropped. After 6 months, she had her first emergency fund. After a year, she had options she never thought possible. Because she stopped avoiding money and started partnering with it. Daily practice, the money check-in, each day. Take 5 to 10 minutes to do the following. Track what you spent that day. Use an app or notebook. Reflect. Was this aligned with your values or emotional plan? Is there one small decision tomorrow that can save, invest, or redirect cash more wisely? Optional weekly habit. Transfer a small percentage of your income to a freedom fund, a savings or investment account that symbolizes self-respect. Even $5 daily builds momentum. Even $1 invested with intention changes your identity. True financial power isn't about having millions. It's about knowing that you're not ruled by money. You're in charge of it. Tell yourself, I don't fear money. I direct it. I build wealth, not by luck, but by daily choices, grounded in purpose. Now that you've begun mastering your external resources, it's time to return inward again, to the most powerful resource of all, you. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to grow yourself, because all lasting change begins inside. Chapter 8. Invest in personal growth. Become the person your dreams require. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you become. Most people chase goals. They want the house, the car, the career, the freedom. But here's the secret that most miss. You don't get what you want. You get what you're prepared to handle. And the only way to be prepared for the life you dream is to grow into the version of you who can carry it. Personal growth is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's not something you'll get to later. It's the foundation of everything lasting, meaningful, and extraordinary in your life. The mirror you can't escape wherever you go. There you are. Your mindset follows you. Your habits follow you. Your self-doubt, your patterns, your emotional triggers, they all travel with you. That's why the first place to grow is not your job, not your relationships, not even your income, but your inner world. You want better outcomes. Raise your awareness, sharpen your emotional intelligence, identify the beliefs and behaviors that quietly sabotage you, and rewire them, because your results don't lie. They're a reflection of the person you are becoming or resisting. Growth is progress, not perfection. I once spoke to a man who was overwhelmed by self-help. He had read every book, taken courses, filled journals, but nothing seemed to stick. So I asked him, "What's the one thing you're applying consistently?" Paused. Honestly, none of it. That was the shift. He didn't need more information. He needed implementation. He committed to one habit a week. Week 1, morning reflection. Week 2, daily gratitude. Week 3, difficult conversation he'd been avoiding. Over time, growth stopped being a concept and became an identity, not something he did, but someone he was becoming. Daily practice. The inner work inventory at the end of each day. Reflect on, what did I learn about myself today? What behavior did I repeat that's either helping or hurting me? What one small action can I take tomorrow to become 1% more aligned with my values? Growth is not measured in leaps. It's measured in moments of awareness, alignment, and courage, repeated daily. Tell yourself, I am my greatest investment. As I grow, everything around me rises to you're now building. From the inside out, but to truly sustain this growth, you need direction. You need an inner compass that doesn't waver when storms come. That compass is purpose. Chapter 9. Align with purpose. Live from the inside out. When you forget your why, even the best life will feel empty. But when you remember your why, even the hardest days gain meaning. Purpose is not a luxury for the privileged. It's not a poetic word for philosophers. It's not something reserved for spiritual retreats or motivational books. Purpose is oxygen for your soul. Your actions become mechanical. Your work feels meaningless. Your relationships drift. Your motivation disappears. But when you wake up with a why, a reason that runs deeper than obligation or approval, everything shifts. You move with clarity. You choose with conviction. You endure with grace. Purpose is not found. It's forged. And that's okay. Purpose doesn't fall from the sky. It's not a lightning bolt. It's a quiet unveiling, built through reflection, curiosity, and courage. You don't need to know it all at once. You just need to start living in the direction of what feels true, what energizes you, what breaks your heart. What would you still do even if no one clapped? Start there. Purpose begins with small alignment and deepens through daily choices. A life without purpose drifts. I once met a man who had it all: wealth, status, influence. But he told me, every morning I wake up and feel empty, because everything he chased was built on external validation. There was no inner alignment. He had built a life that looked impressive, but felt meaningless. So he began again. This time, from the inside out, he asked hard questions. What kind of man do I want to be when no one is watching? Who do I want to serve? What legacy do I want to leave, not just in my work, but in people's hearts? And the more he lived with those answers in mind, the more peace and power he found. Daily practice. The purpose pulse check. Each morning or evening, reflect on, what did I do today that aligned with what truly matters to me? What drained me because it wasn't connected to purpose? What small choice tomorrow could bring me closer to a life of meaning? Purpose doesn't demand perfection. It asks for presence. It asks that you live with intention, not imitation. The most powerful people are not the ones who chase applause. They're the ones who follow their calling. Quietly, consistently. Tell yourself, I am not here to impress. I am here to express the deepest truth of who I am. Now that you've remembered your why, you've grounded your growth in something unshakable. But to stay grounded, especially when life gets chaotic, you must also nurture something often forgotten. Gratitude, the daily anchor for peace, presence, and abundance. Chapter 10. Practice daily gratitude, the gateway to abundance. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, it changes the way you see them, and that changes everything. You don't need a perfect life to feel deeply alive. You need presence. You need perspective. You need to remember what is already good, already enough, already here. That's the power of gratitude. It won't solve every problem, but it will anchor you when problems arise. It will soften you when the world feels harsh. It will open your heart when it wants to shut down. Gratitude is not about denying pain. It's about refusing to let pain define you. The mindset shift that changes everything. We're conditioned to notice what's missing, the money we don't have, the praise we didn't receive, the love we hoped for that never came. But what if you trained your mind, daily, deliberately, to notice what's already right? The breath in your lungs, the friend who texted back, the lesson hidden inside the failure, the chance to begin again. When you focus on what's here, you stop obsessing over what's not. And from that space, peace is possible. Gratitude in the darkness. I once knew a woman who lost almost everything in 1 year. Her job, her relationship, her health. She came to me not for strategies, but because she felt she had lost herself. I asked her to do something simple, not easy, but simple. Every night, write down 3 things you're still grateful for, even if you have to whisper them through tears. At first, it felt fake, forced, hollow, but week after week, it became a ritual, then a mindset, then a lifeline. She began noticing beauty again, joy again, hope again. Not because her circumstances had changed, but because she had changed. Gratitude didn't fix her life. It gave her the strength to rebuild it daily. Practice the 3-in-3 gratitude ritual every day. Write down 1 person you're grateful for, 1 experience you're grateful for even. If it was hard, 1 part of yourself you're learning to appreciate. Do it first thing in the morning, or right before bed. This isn't just about posified fit. It's about building emotional resilience. Because when you live with gratitude, you complain less. You receive more. You give freely. You move from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude is not something you feel when life is perfect. It's something you choose. So life becomes more meaningful. Tell yourself, I already have enough to begin. Gratitude is my superpower. I don't wait for joy. I cultivate it. Now that you've learned to ground yourself in gratitude, you're ready for something deeper. You've built tools, habits, awareness, but the real transformation lives in what you do with them. Daily. The next chapter is about consistency in the small things, the quiet power behind every extraordinary life. Chapter 11. Stay consistent in the small things, where success secretly hides. Extraordinary lives are not built in giant leaps. They're built in tiny moments, repeated, refined, and never abandoned. Everyone wants results, but not everyone wants repetition. Everyone wants the mountain peak, but few are willing to take the quiet steps, day after day, when no one is watching, when motivation is gone, when progress feels invisible. But here's the hidden truth: success hides in consistency, and consistency hides in small things. It's the daily workout, not the intense boot camp, the 1-page written, not the overnight novel, the hard conversation you have today, not the relationship advice you binge next week. Why small things matter. So much we overlook the small because it doesn't feel impressive. But the small things, they are seeds. And when planted consistently, they grow into unshakable confidence, character, and capacity. You brush your teeth daily, right? Why? Because if you don't, the damage adds up now. Apply that to your thoughts, your habits, your goals. The damage, or the growth, always compounds the danger of almost always. I once mentored a young man who almost always followed through. He almost always journaled, almost always ate clean, almost always showed up for his morning walk, but almost cost him everything because inconsistency breeds self-doubt. It tells your subconscious, you can't trust me to finish. What I start, we worked on one thing to 100% follow through on small, clear promises. Not perfection, just commitment. In 3 months, his discipline sharpened, his self-esteem grew. His vision felt real again, not because he worked harder, but because he finally showed up every single day. Daily practice. The one thing rule. Ask yourself each morning, what is one small action I can complete today, no matter what, that moves me forward? It could be writing 1 paragraph, drinking 2 liters of water, making 1 difficult phone call, spending 10 minutes in silence. Set it, do it, track it, let it compound. This one action, repeated daily, becomes more powerful than all your best intentions, because while others are chasing momentum, you're building a rhythm that never breaks. Tell yourself, I don't need to do everything. I just need to do what matters consistently. You've learned to show up in the quiet, ordinary moments, the ones where your real power is shaped down now. It's time to bring it all home. In the final chapter, we'll connect every thread, every discipline, every insight into one core transformation, becoming the version of you who lives all of this effortlessly. Chapter 12. Let growth become who you are. A life built on daily becoming. You don't become extraordinary by chasing greatness. You become extraordinary by becoming consistent with who you truly are every single day. You've walked through every principle. You've looked at your attitude, sharpened your communication, trained your discipline, redesigned your mindset, reclaimed your time, fed your knowledge, respected your finances, invested in your personal growth, remembered your purpose, anchored yourself in gratitude, and committed to the quiet consistency of small steps. But all of this is just the beginning. Because the goal isn't to complete this process, the goal is to become someone who lives it. Naturally, fully, an unapologetic ally. You are the practice. Everything you've learned isn't meant to be stored. It's meant to be embodied. Growth is not a checklist. It's not something you finish. It's something you live through. You're not just doing the work anymore. You are the work when you choose better thoughts. You're becoming growth when you have that hard conversation with grace. You're becoming growth when you break the cycle of reaction and respond with presence. You're becoming growth. This is not about being perfect. It's about being aligned. It's about being aligned. It's about closing the gap between the life you imagine and the person you choose to be every day. Identity. Over hustle, the mistake many people make is to seek change from the outside in. They set goals, they push harder, they chase outcomes, but real transformation is inside out. You don't just act like a disciplined person. You decide, I am someone who is disciplined. You don't just practice gratitude, you become a grateful person. And once your identity aligns with your actions, consistency is no longer a chore. It becomes your character. Final practice, the I Am Becoming Journal. At the end of each day, reflect and write. Today, I became more of the person who shows up fully, loves deeply, speaks truth, listens well, stays grounded, chooses growth. This simple reflection rewires your mind to see progress, not as something far away, but something happening now. Let this practice remind you, you are never standing still. Every decision either brings you closer to or further from the person you want to be. Tell yourself, I am not waiting to arrive. I am becoming. Every day, in every breath, in every step. My life is not defined by what happens to me, but by who I decide to be in response. Closing words, start now, stay daily, keep becoming. If you've made it here, It means something inside you is already awake, already reaching, already rising, and now you have the tools, the principles, the clarity, the rhythm. But none of this will matter unless you choose to begin today, and again tomorrow, and again the next day. Because this is how a powerful life is built, not in grand gestures, but in small, sacred choices, not in intensity, but in consistency, not in the eyes of others, but in the mirror you face every morning. So take the first step, then take the next one, not because you have to, but because you finally remembered who you are meant to be. And that version of you, they're already waiting on the other side of your next daily choice.
Thank you for spending this moment with Awaken Light Audio. If something today touched your heart or opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. What spoke to you most? Tell us about your journey, your questions. Send it their way, because light grows when it's shared. Until next time, stay present, stay awakened, and keep becoming who you're meant to be.